Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to another episode of Factional Fight. This is an update episode from my car. As you can see, I'm driving as I do every day for so long that I thought that I'd just start recording myself and my thoughts to share with you, our patrons. This video is exclusive to our patrons, and the only place that you can get it is right here on our Patreon page, and you guys are the only ones who get to see it. So thank you so much for being a patron of ours. We appreciate it. You don't even understand how much it means to us. It means the world to us that you guys are willing to become our patron and to support our show. And thank you so much for coming out to our streams or to watching our episodes on YouTube or at Twitch after the fact. Again, it means the world to us that people are watching and people are interested, and it's what keeps us motivated to continue making these videos. As you may have noticed, we are trying to sort of keep up a weekly schedule of Twitch streams, whether it's myself or just Brian, or if it's both of us. You know, our hope is that we're going to keep up that schedule, and it really, I guess the only exception would be if, let's say, both of us are on vacation or both of us are but for the most part, we're going to make an effort to get one stream every week. Of course, our schedule is pretty hectic and not consistent, and so what that means is that week to week that stream is not going to be at the same time, unfortunately. It would be great if we can commit to a specific time of the week, that way it's more predictable for you guys, our viewers. The reality is that our schedules just don't work that way, and so we just try to do it as best as we can when we can, and our commitment right now is to focus on trying to get streaming once a week. Now I have nailed down a date for that I'm available this weekend. It's a Saturday evening, so my plan is to record a stream on Saturday evening regardless of whether or not Brian's able to do so. I've already communicated with him that that's the day that I'm able to do it, and he has yet to respond. So if he's not able to on Saturday, then I'll be on my own, and there's a small chance that Fayran will be able to hop on for another stream another time when he's available, or the other possibility is that he's not able to this week and it'll just be me. So one or the other, we'll see how it goes. It's still up in the air, but that's what we can expect. Saturday will be our stream, and it'll probably start around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got a lot of interesting news coming up, and I'm going to use this opportunity to sort of shoot out some ideas for myself and to just communicate to you guys what's going on in my head, because I think this is a great opportunity for me to just like talk out loud and just think about what I've been reading on the forums, what I've been experiencing in the game, and all of that thought process will go into making the episodes that much more coherent and that much better. So the first thing that comes to mind is that the test server opened. Not that the test server opened, but that they added the Priest update to the test server. So people have gone on to onto the test server and delved in to the Priest changes, and there's a feedback thread on the forum, and so far I haven't had a chance to get onto that test server. Last episode I asked Brian if that's something that we might want to do, because all the Priest stuff got put on Sunday, and we did our recording Sunday evening. So the first question I asked him when I got in contact with him that evening was, do you want to go onto the Priest test server and just like goof around on there? And we sort of hummed and hawed about it, but then we ultimately decided to not do that, because we did want to be talking about what we ended up talking about, which was hashing out our plans for how to incorporate these segments that we want to incorporate into our episodes. So I'll talk a little bit about that in a second, but back to the Priest update. I've been following the forum thread where people have been basically reporting bugs and saying what they think about the Priest update so far, and based on what I've read, and based on the patch notes, I guess, that Retro put out on that thread, it's kind of overwhelming, the amount of stuff. I guess I'll start with the stuff that I'm really happy about. I'm really happy about them changing things like the requirement to cast life transfer. They brought that down to 100, which means that a single priest who has a faith of 100 can now cast life transfer. I'm really excited about this change. They also added an extra spell called Essence Drain, I think it's called, which is the dark side, the Libella side version of life transfer, which does a combination of damaging extra amount plus healing you, which I think is a great option for more veteran players who life transfer is just overkill when it comes to going out and hunting, right? So it's sort of like it's going to heal you less than life transfer, but it's also going to damage the mob more. So I'm definitely excited about that, and that is the spell that I'm going to be putting on my weapons from now on, I think. I'll test it out and see if it fits, you know, but I'm really excited now that a single priest can cast these things, because before, you know, I had a Najo priest. I have a Najo priest, and I did create a Najo alt, or rather I think I obtained one, I bought one, so a priest alt to link with me so that I can cast life transfer. And then I spent a whole bunch of time, you know, crafting weapons and casting life transfer onto them, and that was a lot of fun. That's my cup of tea, that sort of gameplay. I love trying to get to the point where I can make those ultimate items, and it's just literally for the sake of making them. I just get a thrill out of it. And so I'm really excited to see that I can now do that if I can get my faith up to 100 with one priest, because it was kind of costly to priest up to premium 2 characters to do that. Now, I'm not too worried about the economy in terms of the fact that we're going to start seeing a ton of extra weapons with life transfer and essence drain cast on them right away. I bet you right out the gate there's going to be people who have their stuff all ready to go, and they're going to just flood the market, and these things are going to it's going to cause these to become cheaper and cheaper as the supply increases and the demand decreases. Right, we're going to see a decreased demand because there's going to be so much of these items being flooded on the market, because they're going to be relatively easy to cast, I think, at least for the population of Worm that will be casting. And everybody's going to get their hands on one, and once you have one of these weapons, you're never going to need to buy another one. That's the way the weapon market works. You will need to improve it, so you're going to need to have, like, weaponsmiths are going to get a good sort of like bit of the economy there, but in terms of the spellcasters, I really have no hope that I'm going to be making money off of this. Let's put it that way. That's the way that I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it in terms of, will I be able to make weapons and cast on them, improve them, and sell them on, let's say, a merchant page? And I don't think I'm going to be, just because the market's not going to be there. There are many other priests out there that are way better than mine, and they're going to be pumping out casts like no tomorrow. So the way I'm going to be working on it is I'm going to be making a bunch of weapons, and they're going to be my personal stash of weapons that I can hand out to friends and family and, you know, those sorts of things, and people who you know, I'm close with. And I think for that's just, you know, that's going to be fun for me. I'm going to have a thrill spending time on my priest doing that sort of stuff. There's another change that I'm really excited about, and that's the rite of spring changes. So it used to be, actually, to be honest, I've learned something that I feel as though I was not aware of about the rite of spring. That it seems as though there's something called a prayer pool that always used to be there, and that priests, as they pray to their god, fill this prayer pool for the server, and once it's filled, then, and once a time limit has has gone by, then the Rite of Spring cast was available. I think that system is still going to be in place, but the main difference now is going to be that if a Rite of Spring gets cast on a server, then in order to reap the benefits of it, so let's say a priest of Venora casts the Rite of Spring spell, then if you were a follower of Venora or a priest of Venora, then all you have to do is within the next 24 hours of its cast, log in and pray at an altar, and you will reap the benefits of that cast. Now, the benefits is a full bar of sleep bonus, which is awesome. And I'm not sure if there's any other benefit. I'll have to read the post again before the stream, so good thing I'm talking about it now. Something to remember to do. I have to read the post. But you know, it used to be that if you weren't on at the time of the cast, you missed it, and it's done. You don't get any more. Okay, so the problem that caused before in the past was that there was this guy who thought it was really funny to bring on his army of alts and priests and cast it just like a day before the scheduled cast was. So like, you know, the community would get together, they'd make a post and say the cast is going to be on, you know, October 20th. Everybody get ready for it on October 20th. And they would get together, you know, with that plan. And then this guy on October 18th would cast it. And that would like, you know, nobody was ready for it. Nobody was on. Everybody missed the sleep bonus. And then we have to wait the whole, I guess it's like about 3 months before you can cast it again. So it was like, everybody got so mad at this guy. Problem was is that he was playing within the rules, right? He wasn't griefing, really. I mean, everybody kind of got upset, but anyway. I'm glad that they changed it, so if somebody does that, you have 24 hours to log in and get the benefits from it. And I'll have to remember to go look back to see what other changes happened to it, but that's the main change that I think is amazing. There's a lot of stuff, like with how the demigods are working, like how the player gods are now being associated with the 4 main gods. I'm kind of confused about, like, it seems like people are wondering why is it that a Najo, who is the demigod of foe, is still using a statue of Magrenon? Like, why can't the demigods use the statues of their main gods and pray at the altars of their main gods? I'm not sure. If that's actually happening, I'd have to go onto the test server to test that out and see what's going on there. But it would make sense to me that it should be that way. It should be that if I'm a Najo priest, which is the demigod of foe, I should be doing most things like a foe priest does. I'm also interested in the spell lists, how the spell lists which are now released have played out. It's a little bit weird and confusing to me. How they landed. Like, for example, Najo, being a demigod of foe, gets to cast Essence Drain, which is a Libella spell. It's like, and I guess there was like, I guess they wanted there to be some randomness and some like versatility. Maybe that's their way of allowing the light priests, like the light side priests, to be able to access some of the dark side spells. I'm calling it the dark side spell. I mean, it should be the dark light spells. And what's the light side one called? Anyway, you guys know what I mean. So there seems to be like some mixture, and I was looking through the spell list trying to figure out, will I change my Najo priest? I'm definitely keeping my Venora priest, because one thing that I noticed right away was that the only priest to get Circle of Cunning is Venora. And that's the reason why I kept my Venora priest before, because that's the only priest that can cast Circle of Cunning. There might have been another one, but Venora has a lot of good spells nonetheless. And not much changed about Venora that is worthwhile for me to change away from Venora for my circle of cunning. But my Najo priest, I'm still up in the air about whether or not I should switch my Najo priest. I'm really happy to see Essence Drain on the Najo priest. I'm sad to see Life Transfer go, but I think I'm okay with having a priest that does Essence Drain. And Najo has Wind of Ages. But I'm kind of interested in also getting a priest that has Blessing of the Dark. Yeah, Blessing of the Dark. Because, you know, if I can get a priest with Blessing of the Dark and have a Vin priest which has WA and COC, then I cover all my bases for enchanting tools. And there's a couple options for that. I think Smeagol and a couple others. I haven't really looked too much into it, but a couple others got Blessing of the Dark, which would be really cool. Ultimately, what would be really cool is if I could be a priest of Libella, because if that would be possible, then I would for sure switch to Libella, because they get Essence Drain and Blessing of the Dark, and that would just round out everything in terms of enchanting. And that's like my bread and butter. That's my main focus for priests. Now, if I do that, I will lose something that's quite valuable to me. So the other thing that I use priest for is my main priest is that she is she has high animal husbandry, so I use her to breed horses, and having the spell Genesis is a big deal for that. I mean, it's not the biggest deal. It just means that if I get a horse with a bad trait, I'd have to kill it instead of erase the bad trait. But usually a bad trait is usually in replacement of a good trait. So if let's say I get a 5-speed horse with a 6th bad trait, you know, normally I'll just eliminate that bad trait and I'm left with just a 5-speed horse. But for the most part, I'm really trying to focus on getting a 5-speed horse with the Spark trait, because the Spark trait adds 50% lifetime to the horse, like extends the life by 50%. So that 5-speed horse with no 6 trait, not that useful for me, because I get enough of them that have the Spark trait as well. So if I lose Genesis, not a big deal. Not a big deal. The other thing I'll use my Najo priest for is Courier. So Courier, if you go to Libella, I think Libella gets the, what is it, the mailbox thing? The Dark Messenger, I think it's called. So that should be okay. But then there's one last thing that I use my Najo priest for, and that's Strongwall. Now Strongwall is super valuable to me. Super valuable. I'd have to really think hard and long before I let Strongwall go. It might ultimately come down to me really wanting to keep Strongwall enough to pick a priest that has Strongwall, and I'll have to sacrifice something else. So yeah, it's interesting that they made it so that you really have to pick and choose and sacrifice, and even with 2 priests you can't have everything. Do you know what I mean? So the other thing to consider is that everybody's priorities is different, right? Some people's priority is PvP, and I have no idea. I really have no idea anything about the PvP side of priests. So yeah. Now the other thing that I need to factor in are the passive traits of all the priests. They've sort of like fleshed them out and made them quite straightforward to understand. But I'll be honest, I'm not really going to be using those as a consideration for which priest to pick. The main thing I'm going to be using is the spell list that the priest gets, and we'll go from there, and I'll just have to live with the passives that they get. So that's where I'm at with my priest stuff. I'll really have to scour again that patch note to see if there's anything else that relates to me personally, because that's about it, I think, at least from my remembering. That's the only things that are going to impact me and my playstyle, and all the rest of the stuff is going to impact PvP and combat and those sorts of things. But back to the Libela thing, there was a post that somebody made, like, asking why can't Libela come to freedom, and then somebody responded that, and I don't know how right they are, but that Libela, the code sort of like is entangled in the kingdom system and on Chaos. So the Libela priest is sort of like exclusive to Chaos, and in order for them to allow Libela to come to freedom, they'd have to do a whole revamp of the code. And that made me think, like, isn't that what they're doing? Like, aren't they making a revamp of the code right now? And what better time to revamp the code than when you're revamping the code? That's what I was thinking, anyway. So I think if there's ever a time that they should address the Libela coming over to freedom, it should be now, when they're elbow deep into the code trying to, like, fix it all up. Maybe it's something that's not, like, ready for this update. I know that their timelines go, like, they propose a whole bunch of changes, they have a whole list of changes that they're going to do, they implement those changes come to test, they're testing them all, and the next step is going to be bringing them to live. So I don't feel like this is the time to add another element back onto the initial list, but I almost feel like that should have been on the table at the beginning. Like, you know, like when the devs sat down and think, okay, we're going to completely revamp the whole pre-system, bringing Libela to freedom should have been on the table. And maybe it was. Maybe they took a glance at it and thought, that's just way too much effort for this particular time frame that we want to put it in, and they let it go. That's a possibility. I know that sometimes has to happen if the project goes beyond the means of the time frame that they want to implement this in. And I appreciate that. Like, I really do, because I know that this dev team is really pushing for a cohesive end result before, let's say, pushing this game further in terms of advertisement. I know that they want a UI, I know they want combat changes, I know they want priest changes, they want to address PvP, and then once those main items are addressed, then they're going to be pushing the advertisement of the game. And you don't want any one of those projects to take too long, because if that happens, then you'll just never get to that point where you're advertising the game and trying to draw people in. So I do appreciate that they have to let things go. It's just sad that if Libela doesn't come to freedom, that I won't be able to be a Libela priest, because I think that would be my #1 choice. And if that happened, I'd probably ditch Nacho for Libela. So that's my thoughts on that. There was something else that I said that I was going to talk about moments before, but now for some reason it slipped my mind. Oh yeah, our plans for these little subs, what are we going to call them? Segments. I think we're going to call them segments. At least we're going to be calling them segments. It's what we're referring to them to each other when we talk about them. So when I say segments, what I'm referring to is a piece of our stream that we're going to cut out. So we're going to design a segment of our stream. It'll almost feel like if you're going to be watching our stream, it's almost going to feel like we're going to, like, shake it off, get all ready, and then, like, start right in the middle of our stream, be like, hello and welcome to another, I don't think we'll use the word segment when we actually record it, but and these are going to be the tutorial sort of like pieces. We're going to try to contain them to like 20 to 30 minutes or something like this. So in the middle of our stream, we're just going to like restart, refresh, and then we're going to be like, on the stream we might gear ourselves up, get everything organized and chat and have like a regular stream, and then we're going to start a segment where that segment is going to end up getting clipped out of the stream and posted to YouTube and put into a separate playlist that is dubbed tutorials. Now these tutorials are going to be, you know, like, we're going to be trying to address, we're going to start by trying to address the newbie, you know, the new player coming to the game, and you know, these videos will be for people who are playing the game already, people who have already been drawn into the game, and they want, you know, they're building something, or, you know, and they're trying to figure out, how does this work? How does that work? Why can't I dig this slope? Why can't I open up this mine? Why, you know, like, and then they type in a video, I want to open up a mine, why is that not working? And then they can, you know, find this video, and it's just a basic introductory video about how to open a mine tunnel, how to clear the rock, dirt to rock, and how to, like, you know, tunnel and everything like that. So there's going to be, you know, those segments, and then once we're finished that segment, we'll just, like, back to the regular stream, and we'll continue on like that. It's possible we might get to 2 of them in one day, in one stream. You know, if they're only 20 minutes to a half hour, and they take, you know, a little bit of time to set up, and in a 3-hour stream we might be able to get to a few. And if you join us on those streams, you'll experience the setup and the, you know, the discussion and stuff about what we want to do, and I think that'll be fun. And then the audience can contribute, right? The audience can chat and help with their experience, and you know, maybe even ask us questions, and we can answer them and that sort of thing. So I think that'll be kind of cool. I think starting with the main skills that a new player would be trying to experience is the way to go, because these are the ones that are going to be most commonly wondered about, the ones that are most apparent, like, for example, the gathering skills like mining, dirt digging, and wood cutting. I was almost thinking of having, like, a sort of, like, different levels of those segments, like, for example, Gathering 101, where we just talk about the very, very intro basic stuff about mining, wood cutting, and digging. And then we'll have a Mining 201. I don't think we'll use these numbers, but, like, this is just to get the idea across. Mining 201, where at the beginning of that segment we'll be like, you know, we assume that you understand the basics. If you don't, go back to this, you know, 101 video. Okay, we're gonna pick up from there, and we're gonna now talk about, like, more detailed, more, you know, the next level, how to optimize the skill gain, how to, like, you know, all the little nitty-gritty stuff. And then we'll go to, like, have another video that's, like, complete advanced techniques. Now your skill is at 80 and you want to push it to 90, you want to push it to 95, sort of thing. Okay, so we'll have, like, different levels of videos so that they can be, you know, addressing the different players that are out there, right? And then, of course, we need to cover, like, the main crafting skills, and then also a lot of the side skills. We definitely want to do cooking. Cooking is going to be a big one, because newbies kind of, I think that's one of the skills that a lot of new players don't really dabble in, but they should. And we can talk about, like, in the 101 cooking, like, why you need to worry about cooking, and what you can do as a new player to, you know, cook meals for yourself that will give you enough food bar to you know, to stay productive. So that's sort of the idea. We're still fleshing it out, you know, like, every time that I talk about it, every time that we discuss it, we flesh it out a little bit more, we make it more coherent in our minds, because once we have a clear idea about what it looks like, then implementing it into our streams is going to be a lot more smooth. The other thing that we want to really consider is that changes are going to be made to the game. Like, let's say, for example, the UI gets all changed, right, at some point. Then is that going to make our tutorials, like, obsolete? Like, are we going to go through all this effort of changing, like, you know, explaining hotkeys and explaining how to do wood cutting, let's say, in this particular way using hotkeys, and then they're going to change the UI completely and then you don't do wood cutting that way anymore. There's a way easier way to do wood cutting. So part of us is like, do we wait to see what the UI changes are going to be, or are those UI changes way too far off? Maybe we can talk to Retrograde or Buddha or somebody like that to get a sense for whether it makes sense to do, whoa, look at that sun, whether it makes sense to do tutorials now, or should we wait for those tutorials? I don't know. And I think that if we wait for tutorials, that's okay too. I really think that we're having a good time doing what we're doing. We have a lot that we could plan to do. You know, I was thinking part of this Saturday stream, I'm gonna hop onto the test server just to mess around there, but probably not for the full stream. I can't see myself spending a full 3 hours on the test server. I really do want to get to playing the game and having fun with the terraforming that I'm having there, which is going well, by the way. It's really, like, it went a lot faster than I thought it was. It's only been a couple weeks, and we're pretty much, like, there's a bunch of surface mining to do, but not much more. So I might be surface mining again to finish that off, and the hope would be to finish the surface mining on the show, drop the whole dirt down, and then we'll have the flat area in the back all ready to go. Next steps after that is to fix up the front harbor area, which will take a little bit more digging and a little bit more potential surface mining. I don't know what's underneath that dirt at the front there. I do hope there's some rock. I do hope there's some rock, because I do want to make a boat mine entrance there. If I dig all that down and all of it is dirt all the way through to the water, then making a boat mine is going to be it's going to be a little bit tough. So I'm going to have to dig and see what's under there. And if there's some rock, then I'm going to need to surface mine that down all the way down below the water, and then open up some tunnels. And then I can start worrying about putting up some buildings. I think the buildings are going to be minimal. I really want a horse place, and I kind of want a farm area, so there's maybe a building to store all the farm stuff, and then a priest setup, a little building for a priest setup, which I don't think needs to be all that big. And then that's pretty much what that deed's going to be. And then the rest is all decorative stuff, just like, you know, make it look nice and make all the ramps and bridges and things that connect everything, so it allows you to navigate through the deeds. So that's going to be that. And then of course we have our Brian's Underground building and our decorating competition that needs to get started up. So each of us have to make a plan for what we want our floor to look like. That's probably going to be a deed planner sort of thing at first. Maybe we can show our progress on that, but I still feel like the start of that is a little bit ways away. We gotta, each of us have to come up with our own plan, and then we gotta gather the materials. It might come down to us buying materials for that. We have some materials left over from the labyrinth that we mailed back to ourselves. We have a whole bunch of bricks, but we definitely don't have enough, I don't think. So we're gonna need to go through what we have, see if we can have the time to make some, and if not, we might buy some. And then from there, get to building. You know, build the walls, build the, you know, rooms and everything like that, and set it up exactly how we like. So yeah, that's going to be a fun project. When that's done, then we'll have our whole headquarters sort of set up, and yeah, lots of work to do, but that's what Worm is all about. So I think that's everything that I wanted to talk about, so I'll cut it off here. You know, I hope to see you guys on Saturday in the stream, and if not, you can catch our videos on YouTube just like always. Yeah, we'll see about, I don't know, we'll see if Brian's ready to go for Saturday, then, and we have a little bit of time to chat beforehand, maybe we'll even do a little intro to gathering segment, and we'll see how that goes. So yeah, I think that's it. So I'm gonna sign off here. Have a good rest of your day, and hope to see you on Saturday. Later.